Stories of Dogs. Chapter 1. Top Dog. Sprite was on his way to a dog show at the local park. I'm sure we'll win first prize, said Sprite's owner, Nick. I've just got time to go in here. Nick went into the pet store next to the park. Sprite waited quietly outside. I hope Nick's buying doggy chews, thought Sprite, licking his lips. Sprite felt a sudden pain. A man had stepped on his paw. It was scruffy and very smelly. Yow! Pipe down, mutt! Out of my way, you pesky pooch, snapped the man. I can't stand dogs, he added as he marched away. When they arrived at the show, Nick put Sprite in an area with lots of other dogs. Sprite introduced himself. Wolf, I'm Sprite. My name's Fritz. I'm called Sandy. I'm Mac. My name's Bertie. I am Lady Fifi Bombo. You may call me Lady. A poodle named Lady sniffed snootily. We don't have fleas, she said to Sprite. Of course not, said Sprite. I had a bath this morning. That won't get you first prize, laughed Lady. I'm the prettiest, smartest dog here. The contest is about to start. Nick took Sprite to get ready. The first round was to find the best looking dog. One by one, the judges examined the dogs. They stroked their coats, looked in their ears, tapped their teeth, and peered at their paws. One judge found mud on Sprite's sore paw. She tutted. That smelly man made my paw dirty, murmured Sprite. Tut, tut. The next test was dog control. Sprite followed Nick's commands to sit and stay. Then Nick called Sprite to his side, but Sprite could only hobble. His paw was too sore to run. Ha ha, laughed Lady as Sprite limped back. You won't get many marks for that useless performance. The last test was the obstacle course. The dogs had 1 minute to get around. Sprite tried, but his sore paw made him forget his training. He got jammed between the poles, fell off the seesaw, only got halfway through the loop, missed the jump, and got trapped under the net. What a disaster, said Sprite. I was fastest, boasted Lady. The gold cup will be mine. But just as they were about to call the winner, oh no, the cup's gone, cried a judge. Dogs and owners looked shocked. Where was the cup? Sprite suddenly got a whiff of a smell he knew. It came from one of the judges. He's not a judge, realized Sprite. He's the man who stepped on my paw. Sprite grabbed the man's leg. Get off, yelled the man. He tried to run, but fell over. With a loud clang, the gold cup fell out of his coat. Sprite won first prize for catching the thief, but even better, he got a giant bag of doggy chews all to himself. Chapter 2. Titch to the rescue. Titch wanted to be a top sheepdog like Brian, his dad. Brian had won lots of medals. But when Titch tried to round up sheep, things always went wrong. First, he couldn't get them out of their pen. Then they wouldn't go through the gate in the fence. One sheep always managed to escape. The others wouldn't stand still. And he took ages to get them back in their pen. One evening, Owen the sheepherd took Titch and Brian for a walk. I'll never be as good as you, Dad, wolfed Titch sadly. You just need to work at it, son, barked Brian. Just then, a thick fog began to float around them. Quickly, boys, said Owen. He and Brian ran ahead. Titch lost sight of them. Yo! Titch heard a shout and a yelp. His dad and Owen were in trouble. Titch ran forward, but Owen and Brian had vanished. Wolf, down here, son. Titch heard his dad's voice. It was coming from a deep, dark hole in the ground. Titch could see his dad at the bottom of the hole. Owen lay still on the ground beside him. Are you okay, Dad? Yes, but Owen's hurt. I'll get help, barked Titch. The young dog raced down the hillside through the fog. Farmer Ellis lived nearby, thought Titch. He'll help. Titch hurled through the valley. He saw the lights of a farmhouse in the distance. Mr. Ellis was in the farmyard. Titch rushed up to him, barking loudly. Hello, Titch, smiled Miss Ellis. Are you lost, boy? He patted Titch and tried to lead him indoors. Titch pulled away and shook his head towards the hillside. I'll take you home tomorrow, boy, said Mr. Ellis. Titch kept barking. If only humans could understand dog talk, he thought. Mr. Ellis headed indoors. How can I make him follow me? Wondered Titch. Then he had an idea. He ran to Mr. Ellis's sheep pen. Jumping up, he tugged at the rope on the pen gate. It came free and the gate opened. The sheep ran noisily into the farmyard. What are you doing? Cried Mr. Ellis. Stop! Bah! 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 Before the farmer could stop him, Titch herded the sheep out of the yard and up the hillside. Titch tried to remember all his dad's tricks. Keeping the flock together, he'd steer them along. Mr. Ellis ran behind. Titch's plan was working. He led the farmer and his sheep to the hole in the ground. Mr. Ellis heard Brian's bark and looked down the hole. So that's what you were up to, Titch, he cried. Mr. Ellis went for help, and Owen and Brian were rescued from the hole. A week later, Titch won a medal at last, but it wasn't for sheep herding. Well done, son. It was for bravery. Chapter 3. Trouble at Tike's. Mr. Tike couldn't afford to repair his dog's home, so he was selling the creaking old building along with his dogs. The dogs were sad to see Mr. Tike go. He'd rescued them and given them a safe home. I wonder who the new owner will be, whooped Bob the collie. I hope they'll be as nice as Mr. Tike, yelped Pip the pointer. One day, two strangers arrived at Tike's. Hello, I'm Mrs. Hood, and I'm Mr. Wink. We want to buy your sweet little doggy home, said Mrs. Hood. Mr. Tike showed them around. In the yard, the dogs rushed up to greet visitors. You let the mutts or dogs run around? Asked Mr. Wink. Of course, replied Mr. Tike. How charming, said Mrs. Hood, with a sickly smile. 2 days later, the new owners took over. Bye-bye, Mr. Tike. Now then, scowled Mrs. Hood as soon as Mr. Tike had gone, let's get these hairy flea bags out of the way. The dogs were rounded up. They yelped and barked as they were locked in a cage. Now we can get to work. What's going on? Heidi the Dachshund asked the others. Mr. Tike never treated us like this, said Winnie the Bulldog. We must get out, said Pip. Let me try, said Heidi. She took a deep breath and squeezed out of the cage. Grab the keys, cried Bob. Heidi climbed onto a kennel and jumped up to the keys. Heidi freed the others and they ran into the house. A scrapbook was on the table. Hood and Wink are bank robbers, gasped Bob. Just then the dogs heard voices and ran into the yard. Remember when this was just a field, said Mrs. Hood. There's a great place to bury our gold until we could escape from jail. If only they haven't built this stinking doghouse on top, moaned Mr. Wink. We'll bulldoze it to dig up the loot, he added, after we've dumped those mutts. Hey, where are they? The dogs had heard enough. Winnie leapt onto Mr. Hood's head. Pip bit him on the bottom. Ow! And Heidi tugged on his leg. Tina the Terror grabbed Mrs. Hood's necklace. Ah! Bob sank his teeth into her jacket. The Pekingese twins nipped her ankles. Dot the Dalmatian fired chunky dog food into the crook's faces. Take that! Spurt! Splat! Run for it! Cried Mr. Wink. The dogs chased the pair out of the home and down the road. The yummy smell of meaty chunks soon had every dog in town on the crook's trail. Woof, 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 woof. Bob and the other hounds chased the crooks to the local police station. We give in, called them off. The police decided to give the reward money for catching Hood and Wink to Mr. Tike. He promptly bulldozed his old dog's home and built a brand new one. The end. Thank you and bye-bye. Fine.